You're standing at the edge of a vast, empty landscape, with nothing but the wind whispering in your ear, and you're faced with a choice to go left, to go right, or to stand still, and in this moment, you're acutely aware that the decision you make will shape the course of your life, and the weight of that responsibility is crushing, because Jean-Paul Sartre said freedom isn't a gift, it's a punishment, and most people spend their whole lives running from it, trying to escape the burden of choice, but you can't, because you're condemned to be free, and that's a terrifying thought. As you look out at the endless expanse before you, you realize that there's no one to turn to for guidance, no authority figure to tell you what to do, no set of rules to follow, and that's the core of existentialism, the philosophy that Sartre championed, which says that we're all alone in this world, with no inherent meaning or purpose, and that we must create our own, through our choices and actions, and that's a daunting task, because it means that we're responsible for everything we do. And that's a heavy weight to bear. You think about all the times you've tried to avoid making decisions, by following the crowd, or doing what's expected of you, or seeking guidance from others, but deep down, you know that those are just cop-outs, because the truth is, you're the one who has to live with the consequences of your choices, and that's what Sartre meant by condemned to be free. We're all stuck with the freedom to choose, and that's what makes life so anxiety-provoking, because we're constantly faced with decisions, big and small, and each one has the potential to change the course of our lives. As you stand there, frozen with indecision, you start to understand that Sartre's concept of freedom isn't just about making choices, it's about taking responsibility for those choices, and that's what's so daunting, because it means that we can't blame anyone or anything else for our mistakes, we have to own up to them, and that's a hard pill to swallow, but it's also liberating, because it means that we have the power to shape our own lives, to create our own meaning and purpose, and that's a profound thought. You look around at the empty landscape, and you see that it's not just a physical space, it's a metaphor for the human condition. We're all alone in this world, with no inherent meaning or purpose, and we have to create our own, through our choices and actions, and that's what existentialism is all about. It's a philosophy that says we're free to choose, but we're also responsible for those choices, and that's what makes life so rich and complex, because we're constantly navigating the tension between freedom and responsibility. As you stand there, trying to make sense of it all, you start to realize that Sartre's ideas aren't just about philosophy, they're about life, they're about the human experience, and they're about the choices we make every day, and how those choices shape who we are, and what we become, and that's what's so profound about existentialism. It's a philosophy that says we're not just passive observers in life, we're active participants, and we have the power to shape our own destiny. You think about all the people who try to avoid this reality, who try to escape the burden of choice, by following rules, or seeking guidance from others, or trying to fit in with the crowd, but you know that those are just temporary solutions, because ultimately, we all have to face the fact that we're condemned to be free, and that's what makes life so anxiety-provoking, but it's also what makes it so rich and complex, because we're constantly navigating the tension between freedom and responsibility, and that's what makes us human. And as you stand there, at the crossroads, with the wind whispering in your ear, you're faced with a choice, to go left, to go right, or to stand still, and you know that whatever you choose, you'll have to live with the consequences, and that's what Sartre meant by condemned to be free, and in this moment, you realize that freedom isn't a gift, it's a punishment, but it's also a profound opportunity, because as Sartre said, man is condemned to be free, because once thrown into the world, he is forced to choose, and that's the most terrifying and liberating thought of all. You are the sole author of your own existence.